In today's world, we live in a society that celebrates constant communication and transparency. Everyone's busy sharing thoughts, feelings, and ideas, but what if the most effective strategy isn't talking more, but talking less? It seems counterintuitive, but think about it. While everyone else is broadcasting their every move, the truly effective individuals know when to stay silent and use that silence to their advantage. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how strategic silence isn't just about saying nothing. It's a calculated move that can help you control situations, protect your position, and gain more influence. This idea isn't new, it's rooted in the insights of Machiavelli, the famous 16th century political theorist. Though he is most well known for his advice in The Prince, Machiavelli's deeper wisdom often focused on what should remain unsaid. Did you know that Machiavelli's greatest advice often revolved around silence? In a world filled with oversharing, those who understand the value of keeping quiet just protect their position. They outsmart those who keep talking. Why, then, do we often overlook the power of silence? Why is it that in an age of constant communication, we fail to see that silence might be the most powerful tool we have? Imagine a world where you don't have to explain every decision or justify every move. What if you could move through life without the pressure to always speak? What if, by simply mastering the art of silence, you could become more influential than those constantly talking about their next move? Machiavelli's insights tell us that those who embrace silence can win, while others are still busy discussing winning. Stick with me and I'll show you how silence isn't just an absence of words. It's a tool, one that can change the course of your success, relationships, and leadership. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to use silence strategically as Machiavelli taught us. Let's dive deeper into how silence becomes a weapon. Machiavelli recognized that every word you speak carries a cost. Speech creates commitments. When you speak and declare your intentions, you tie yourself to those words. Your actions don't align with what you've said, you risk looking inconsistent or dishonest. But by remaining silent, you give yourself the freedom to change course without explanations or apologies. You maintain the flexibility that speech can never provide. Speech doesn't just create commitments, it also exposes your thought process. The more you talk, the more you reveal about your mind, your strategy, and your vulnerabilities. This is information that others can use to predict, manipulate, or counter you. As Machiavelli noted, the first method for estimating a ruler's intelligence is to look at the people they surround themselves with. Similarly, the first method for estimating someone's strategic capacity is to listen to how much they reveal. When you speak too much, you expose too much, giving others the upper hand. Compulsive speech also diminishes your mystique. Machiavelli famously stated that it is far safer to be feared than loved, and fear requires distance. Distance requires mystery. The leader who explains every decision, justifies every action, and shares every thought loses that aura of mystery. The ordinary person becomes predictable, and predictability strips away the authority and respect that the extraordinary command. Think about how this plays out today. The colleague who speaks at every meeting, offering their opinion on every issue, gradually loses their impact. The person who shares every little detail of their life on social media becomes less interesting. The negotiator who fills uncomfortable silences with unnecessary concessions gives away leverage. The leader who responds to every criticism legitimizes the criticism and diminishes their stature. Machiavelli would have seen this obsession with transparency as a strategic error. It's a surrender of power that offers others information without securing anything in return. Today's culture treats transparency as a virtue. We are told to be authentic, to share openly, and to communicate constantly. But Machiavelli's advice would be different. He would argue that this transparency often works against us. The modern obsession with sharing everything is a voluntary surrender of power. Those who share too much reveal their plans, making them vulnerable to others' manipulation and exploitation. Machiavelli's concept of silence challenges the modern norm of overcommunication. It teaches us to share only what advances our interests. Strategic silence provides two major benefits. First, it protects your position. By saying less, you prevent others from using your own words against you. Second, it gives you freedom. You maintain the ability to change your course without being bound by previous statements. The more you speak, the more you tie yourself down. The more you share, the more others can exploit that information. The real power of silence is that it allows you to control the narrative. While others talk, you observe. While others reveal their weaknesses, you stay one step ahead, collecting information and gathering insights. The wise understand that speech is a tool that can easily backfire if not used carefully. Silence, on the other hand, protects you from this danger. It keeps you in control and gives you time to strategize. In this video, we've explored just how powerful silence can be. It's not just about holding your tongue, it's about understanding when to speak and when to stay silent. Strategic silence isn't passive. It's a calculated decision that can make all the difference in achieving your goals, protecting your position, and leading with authority. In the next part, we'll explore how silence can be used to gather valuable information and increase your influence. What if I told you that the smartest people don't speak first? They listen, observe, and use silence to gain an advantage. It's a radical shift, right? In a world where everyone is eager to announce their plans, the real strategists know when to keep quiet and listen. Silence, as Machiavelli would argue, is a form of power. In this part, we also explore how Machiavelli's ideas on information-gathering silence can be applied in the real world. By mastering this technique, you'll gain valuable insight that can give you the upper hand in negotiations, business, and leadership. This concept isn't just theory, it's practical and highly effective. Machiavelli understood human psychology, and he knew that the best way to gain power was to first listen before making a move. Did you know that in negotiations, whoever speaks first often loses? Talking reveals your position and intentions, while the silent party gains a strategic advantage by listening carefully to the other side's words. Why do we keep talking when listening is often the smarter move? In the modern world, we've been conditioned to think that speaking up is a sign of strength, but silence can be the ultimate strength in certain situations. Imagine being in a negotiation where you say nothing, but you know everything. By listening carefully, you've already gained a deeper understanding of the other party's position, priorities, and weaknesses. What if silence could unlock the key to controlling the conversation, all while letting the other person think they're in control? Machiavelli recognized that this is not only possible, but vital to long-term success. Stay tuned, because in this section, we'll explain how strategic silence and information gathering can work for you. You'll learn how to silence your impulses to speak first, and instead leverage the power of silence to get the information you need to win. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the best negotiators and leaders know when to be silent and when to speak. Machiavelli famously wrote, "The fool speaks immediately, revealing their position while learning nothing about others. The wise, however, remain silent at first, allowing others to expose their weaknesses and intentions." In negotiations, this approach works wonders because it allows you to gather critical asymmetric information. As the silent observer, you gain the advantage of understanding the other side's thoughts and intentions before you reveal anything about your own. This is why the person who speaks first in any serious negotiation often ends up losing. Imagine you're in a meeting or negotiation and you're eager to present your thoughts. The temptation is to speak first, to get your position out there before anyone else. But here's the catch. Speaking first limits your ability to respond with full awareness of the situation. The other party may use your words against you, steering the conversation in ways that favor them. By waiting and listening, you allow them to reveal their strategy, and you gain more time to formulate a response that's well-informed and precise. This concept applies beyond just negotiations. Think about relationships, whether in personal life or business. The person who speaks the least often understands the dynamics better than the constant talker. The person who listens more than they speak gathers more insight. It's the same in any competition. Those who announce their strategies too early often underperform. Machiavelli's advice is simple. The first to speak loses because they give away their position, while the quiet observer gains the upper hand. Machiavelli also emphasized the importance of authority-building silence. He understood that perception is key to power, and perception can be greatly enhanced through calculated reticence. A leader's power comes not just from their ability to speak, but from knowing when not to speak. Silence creates an aura of mystery, and that mystery fuels respect and authority. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must imitate the fox and the lion, for the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." Part of the fox's cunning is knowing when silence enhances authority. The person who speaks too much often undermines their authority. On the other hand, the leader who speaks selectively, only addressing the most important issues, projects confidence and power. This explains why the most powerful figures in any field tend to speak less but more deliberately than those below them. Think about the difference between the nervous junior executive who overtalks and the confident CEO who speaks only when necessary. The overtaker creates doubt, while the confident speaker creates a sense of calm and decisiveness. The insecure person feels the need to explain everything at length, while the secure person states their position without justification. This is the power of strategic silence. It allows the person who practices it to maintain an aura of mystery and control. Leaders who over-explain or justify every decision risk diminishing their influence. On the other hand, the leader who responds to criticism only when necessary and maintains a level of mystique becomes more respected. Silence here is not about avoiding responsibility, but about maintaining the power of choice. The person who speaks only when it is strategically valuable, rather than emotionally reacting to every provocation, demonstrates true leadership. What if I told you that the most powerful leaders don't always need to say much? Their silence often speaks louder than words ever could. In an age where transparency is valued, silence is often seen as suspicious or uncomfortable. But strategic silence isn't a weakness, it's a sign of strength. Machiavelli would argue that silence, when used wisely, can build more authority than any amount of speech. By now, we've seen how Machiavelli's teachings on silence can be applied in negotiations, leadership, and even daily life. But the key takeaway here is that silence isn't about being passive. It's about being deliberate.
Obvious.
Strategic silence is a power move, a calculated decision that can make all the difference in achieving your goals. Think about this. The more you talk, the more vulnerable you make yourself. Every word you speak can be used against you. Silence, on the other hand, shields you from unnecessary risks. It protects you from revealing your position, your plans, or your weaknesses. So why, in a world that thrives on talking, does silence remain so underutilized? Imagine being in a room full of people, and while everyone else is speaking, you remain silent. By doing so, you control the flow of information. You let others reveal their thoughts, intentions, and weaknesses without ever having to say a word. What if staying silent could give you complete control over every conversation? Machiavelli's strategy shows that this can be your reality. As we wrap up this video, remember this. Strategic silence is more than just saying nothing. It's about knowing when to speak, and more importantly, when to remain silent. Embrace this strategy in your daily life, and you'll see how quickly it can transform your influence, authority, and effectiveness. Now, go ahead and use silence as your tool for success. Machiavelli also spoke about ambiguity, preserving silence. This type of silence allows you to leave things open-ended, to remain unpredictable, and keep your options open. By refusing to clarify or commit to one interpretation, you can appeal to different people, factions, or interests without being trapped by any of them. Politicians often use this technique, making vague statements that different groups can interpret in their own ways. By maintaining ambiguity, you preserve deniability and keep yourself flexible. Sometimes, it's better to leave things unsaid. When you remain silent, you allow others to project their assumptions onto you, revealing their desires, fears, and expectations. This gives you an advantage, as you can then adjust your response based on the information others have revealed. Silence creates a space where people reveal more about themselves than they would if you simply kept talking. It's a strategic tool for gathering intelligence without saying a word. The psychological effects of silence are immense. When people are faced with silence, they are forced to fill the void, often revealing more than they intend. This is why skilled interrogators use silence during questioning. The discomfort compels the subject to speak more freely, revealing more than direct questions ever could. In negotiations, the person who tolerates silence often secures better terms, while the one who nervously fills the silence with concessions only weakens their position. Machiavelli also understood that silence can establish dominance. In any communication dynamic, the person who speaks most frequently or at the greatest length is subtly signaling that they are seeking validation or approval. On the other hand, the person who speaks selectively, or only after others have committed to a position, implicitly claims the role of the judge, not the supplicant. This is why silence is often seen as more powerful than speech. It shifts the power dynamic by positioning you as the one in control. In conclusion, Machiavelli's strategy of silence isn't about being muted. It's about using silence deliberately to enhance your position. By speaking less, you increase your influence and gain more respect. In a world where most people feel compelled to speak, those who know when to stay silent stand apart. The mystique created by silence is a key element of leadership, influence, and power. Remember, in the competition for attention and power, those who master silence don't just participate, they prevail.